What's the story with this watch? This thing here, I'm probably the last cab off the rank when it comes to this watch because the Kickstarter is almost finished, and you know what? It's actually not only fully funded, they only wanted $15,000 to start this project. They've raised, last time I checked, they've raised about 68,000 bucks. So a lot of people are interested in this watch, and I'm thinking, what's the story with this watch? Why are people so keen on this unit? So Bencler sent this watch out to me to have a look at, to see what my thoughts are. And you saw the pop-up, they've sponsored this video. However, as usual, the supplier of any product on this channel has zero input into the review. So I'm going to tell you, is this thing worth it? This watch is actually quite good, but there's probably a couple of things that I think if they just paid a small little bit of attention to some areas, it probably would have kicked it out of the park. Because in the area of attractiveness, legibility, functionality, it's actually working quite well. And I'll explain what I mean to attention to detail to a couple of elements. So this is a startup micro brand. It's fully funded. There's several days left to go, probably about just under 10 days left to go by the time this video goes live. Pretty impressive looking watch and quite decent specs as well. And what I measure is a case diameter of exactly 39.5 mil with a case height of 12.1. We have a lug to lug of 46.1 and a lug width of 20. The watch also features a 5.9mm signed crown. It's not a screw down crown at the moment, but it will be on the production version. The water resistance of the watch is 300 meters, and the total weight on this supplied bracelet sized to my 18cm wrist comes in at exactly 138 grams. So specs wise, the watch is quite nice. It actually fits on the wrist very nicely, 39.5 thereabouts. The height coming in at 12.1mm has been a no issue. Also the comfort, I must say the comfort on this bracelet has been superb. That bracelet, beads of rice style, it really tapers well around that wrist. So I've not had a problem with the combination of comfort with that 138 grams and the total footprint of this piece. And speaking of that bracelet, as you can see, beads of rice, female end links, very, very nice movement in there. This thing tapers around your wrist so comfortably. It features split pins, you've got a mill swivel, press clasp, fold over, twin triggers and 3 micro adjustments. So pretty standard stuff here, nothing untoward. As you can see, there's scratches everywhere. This thing here is a prototype they've sent out to the channel, so you're probably going to see a lot of scratches on this watch. But that's not my concern. My concern is it functional? Does it work well? Is it practical? And if I pay attention to that dial, that's where the hero of this watch is. That Fume dial with a bright turquoise center has been really, really nice. It's been a joy to look at. The legibility has been great in any lighting situations. Very petite experience, and that's been a joy. Now the crystal on this watch is a double dome sapphire, and I think it's doing a very good job. I've had it indoors, I've had it outdoors. It doesn't wash out. It's been a clean experience. So in that department, even with the anti-reflective coating, I think they've done a great job. Now if I turn my attention to that bezel, it's a 120 click unidirectional bezel. As you can see, it's got a ceramic insert with lume filled. That's BGW9. And the action on this is quite nice. As you can hear that, there's hardly any backplay, nice resistance, and it lines up. Being a prototype, it seems to be doing a good job. Now speaking of that lume, the BGW9, I found it very nice. On initial impressions, the brightness is fantastic. As you can see, the handset, those applied markers, very nice. The only thing, bear in mind, the bezel, roughly after 20 or so minutes, it seems to lose its intensity at a faster rate than the handset and applied markers. Overall, a very nice initial look, legible, very clean, well done. Now if I turn the watch over, you can see there's a solid case back, scratched up everywhere unfortunately. From what I can tell, the inspiration of this watch is from a small Italian seaside, and they mimic the rocks on that landscape. Clean, simple, practical. I suppose it's doing the job. It's maintaining its 300 meters of water resistance. Now the movement of the watch is a Miyota 9015 date function at the 6, as you can see. It's been running well for a prototype, and having the Miyota, you're going to get all the benefits of a slimmer watch. This one coming at 12.1 with that 28,800 vibrations per hour. It's been doing a good job. So looking back now, I can see the practicality of this watch. I can see why so many people have backed this project. They've got roughly $70,000 worth of backing. They only needed $15,000, so I can see all the positives. I'll tell you what the negatives are, and then I'll run on to my final thoughts on this watch. And for me, I think the crown, I think it should have been a little bit bigger. It's 5.9 mil, it's doing a good job. I would have preferred personally maybe a 6.5, slightly bigger than that, but that's me. As far as it doing a proper job, it is doing a great job, not an issue. It is going to be a screw down in the production version. This particular one isn't. Just putting it out there so you guys can know. The bracelet, extremely comfortable. I've been so happy with this bracelet. However, I can see where they've cut costs. You've got split pins. You've got, as I said, a press clasp fold over. Nothing untoward, nothing really special here. So the hardware, I think, even though it lets it down in regard to cost-wise, practically it works. But it just would have been nice to see a better clasp on this. And to be honest, if this watch had an on-the-fly clasp for more practicality and potentially screw pins, gee, it really would have kicked this watch out of the park. Especially coming at that price at $339 for the super early birds. Even though I mentioned the split pins, to be honest, look guys, I've never had an issue with split pins in any of my watches. Some of the Seikos I've got, all the rest, never had an issue. It is a cheaper, more inexpensive alternative to screw pins. What the failure rate is of a split pin as compared to a screw pin, I don't know, but I have had experiences where screw pins have actually come out when I've not put Loctite. So neither here nor there, just a mention nonetheless. And my last negative of the watch, well, it's a negative for now, but I believe they are going to change it. The color matching of the date wheel at 6 o'clock compared to that dial, it's almost there on this particular model. Not spot on, but I believe they will be changing that again for the production version. Me personally, I like this watch. I prefer, omit that date, put a Miyota 9039, nice and clean, extremely balanced. I just think it would have been a nicer overall look. Not a deal breaker. The fact that the date is at the 6, it is going to be color balanced on all their models. Very nice. And speaking of colors, they're going to have 4 different colors. I believe blue, this particular turquoise, a red, and a black. So that were my gripes of the watch. What are the positives of the watch? Well, the bezel action is very good, the legibility is good, the functionality of this watch is nice, the lume is very good, albeit the lume on the bezel does fade after about 20 minutes. The sapphire is excellent, the anti-reflective coating is doing a good job. Price I think is good in comparison to what you're getting, although, like I said, a nicer clasp would have been good. The fact that this has an applied logo, and in fact a very nice applied logo, I like the branding, I like what they've done with that. It matches, it's got a nice finesse feel to it. Good job, really good job, well done. And lastly, the watch offers 300 meters of water resistance. You got female end links on that bracelet, very comfortable. The list goes on and on. So I can see why they backed this watch. I can see why they got $70,000. The positives far outweigh the negatives. It's simple as that. I'll leave all the links in the description. Get on, check it out for yourselves. There's several days left before the Kickstarter ends. If you want to get in, jump on and have a look. I found it very comfortable on the wrist, very enjoyable, very legible. Apart from a couple of small niggles, a real pleasing offering from Bencler. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.